It lasted barely a second, but after Donald Trump shook hands with Kim Jong-un, the US president gave the North Korean dictator the briefest of thumbs up. Mr. Trump initially enjoyed a handshake that lasted up to 10 seconds as they met for the first time outside the Capella hotel on the Singaporean island of Sentosa. They then stepped inside, sat down on low, colonial-style chairs, and shook hands again for the cameras. As Mr. Trump withdrew his hand, he gave a short but unmistakable thumbs up to Mr. Kim. After shaking hands in front of a row of American and North Korean flags, Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim walked along a colonnade, inside the hotel, and up a flight of stairs. According to a pool report, at 9:06 a.m., they entered the room where they are holding their one-on-one meeting. The translator sat beside Mr. Trump.Asked how he felt in the first minute. Mr. Trump responded, "I feel really great. It's gonna be a great discussion and I think tremendous success. I think it's gonna be really successful and I think we will have a terrific relationship, I have no doubt." The North Korean leader, who borrowed a plane from China to fly to Singapore, said without prompting, "Well, it was not easy to get here. The past has placed many obstacles in our way, but we overcame all of them, and we are here today." Mr. Trump said it was an honor to be meeting the leader. Thank you very much, he said. Just how Mr. Trump's thumbs up will be perceived by the wider world was not immediately. Phil Robertson, Deputy Director of Human Rights Watch's Asia Division, said it was wrong the US president to do anything that appeared to endorse the head of a regime with such an appalling record on human rights. Singapore Summit, historic first meeting between Trump and Kim Jong-un. 20 Show all Singapore Summit, historic first meeting between Trump and Kim Jong-un. 1/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim leave following their historic meeting. AFP Getty 2/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim sign a document committing to peace between their nations, amongst other things. EPA 3/20th Mr. Trump holds up a document that both he and Mr. Kim have signed. AFP Getty 4/20th The two leaders reach out to shake hands for the first time. AP 5/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim shake hands as they meet for the first time. Reuters 6/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim walk off stage following their historic meeting. Reuters 7/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim take a stroll after their meeting on June 12. Reuters 8/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim interrupt their stroll to talk to the media. AP 9/20th Mr. Kim and Mr. Trump look out over a balcony at the Capella Hotel, where they held their meeting on June 12. Reuters 10/20th Mr. Trump takes questions at the press conference following his meeting with Mr. Kim. AP 11/20th Mr. Trump appreciates the crowd in the press conference following his meeting with Mr. Kim. Getty 12/20th Mr. Trump travels to the Istana ahead of the summit with Kim Jong-un on June 12. Reuters 13/20th Kim Jong-un travels to the Istana ahead of the summit with President Trump on June 12. Reuters 14/20th Mr. Kim poses for a photo with Singapore's Finance Minister Vivian Balakrishnan and Education Minister Ong Ye Kung ahead of the summit with Mr. Trump. Twitter Reuters 15/20th Mr. Trump shakes hands with Singapore Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, meeting on Monday, June 11 in the Istana, Singapore's presidential palace. AP 16/20th At a working lunch on Monday, Singapore's Prime Minister surprised Mr. Trump with a birthday cake, an early celebration of his 72nd birthday. Later in the week. EPA 17/20th U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo answers questions about the summit at a press briefing in Singapore on Monday, June 11. Getty 18/20th U.S. President Donald Trump arrives at the Paya Lebar Air Base in Singapore on June 10, 2 days prior to his summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Reuters 19/20th Mr. Trump and Mr. Kim met on Tuesday, June 12 in the Capella Hotel on the island resort of Sentosa, just off the south coast of Singapore. AFP Getty 20/20th Mr. Trump boards Air Force One following the summit. AFP Getty the point was all the more prescient, given that the US had said it would not raise the issue of human rights with Mr. Kim. The problem is that Donald Trump should not be doing anything that looks like it's an endorsement of Kim Jong-un and the brutal regime he leads, Mr. Robertson, who is Singapore, told The Independent. It's one thing to be talking about denuclearization and trying to move forward the peace process. But it's another to be giving the impression you are endorsing the leader of a country with one of the worst human rights records in the world. Mr. Trump started the talk sounding optimistic about his ability to persuade North Korea to abandon its nuclear weapons program after a lengthy one-on-one meeting with Mr. Kim. Mr. Trump said on Tuesday morning at the beginning of expanded discussions with aides from both countries that we will solve a big problem and a big dilemma. According to the Associated Press, he talked about the pair achieving tremendous success together and predicted that it will be successful